What's the difference between automation, analytics, and AI? So these are some of the terms that they tend to be thrown here and there, and all these can mean the same thing and different. They can mean the same thing, and also they can have different meanings depending with the given context. So uh, in uh, in terms of businesses, generally businesses do not wake up in one day and they sign that agreement that they need AI implemented within their operations. They need better operations, and in that case, automation, analytics, and AI become the different tools that they can actually use when it comes to solving the different problems within their business operations. So most businesses will most of the people have tried to talk to them or discuss with them about automation and analytics within businesses. They will straightforward tell you that okay, we need AI implemented within our operations. But after a short conversation, I often tend to realize that they don't really need AI, but what they need is either automation and better analytics. So in this case, you'll find that AI is this general term that tends to encapsulate whatever people uh, seem to think is about analytics and so on. And so, if they don't know the difference between what is AI, what is automation, what is analytics, what is machine learning, so if they don't have or they cannot distinguish the difference between all these, they can end up spending a lot when it comes to solving a problem that that in the first place that shouldn't be what they should be focusing on. And so um, when you are outsourcing for a solution, then you need to know exactly what is the solution that you are what is the solution, what is the problem that you are facing. Then is it an AI problem, is it an analytics problem, is it an automation problem, or is it let's say a prediction problem. So all these will require different types of solutions, and so you need to distinguish your problem to prevent or stop you from spending millions in solving the real or the wrong problem. Okay, so generally, what is automation? So when I'm talking about automation, or when in this case, automation is all about doing the repetitive work. This means that when you're talking about the repetitive work, this is the I'll term this as something that has grown too monotonous. That I'm going from step A to step B to step C, and these steps do not change. And instead of again me repeating all these processes over and over, why don't I just automate this process? So automation is all about executing the same task consistently without human intervention. Executing the same task consistently without human intervention. Okay, so what are some of the examples when you're talking about automation? So, for example, things like sending invoice automatically, you can just do that. You can automate that process. You can also, for example, for the HR, they can approve leave request based on the predefined rules. So you can just set a bunch of rules, and then if someone qualifies for these particular rules, then they just automate their leave applications. Updating inventory, once shipment arrives, we log the whatever shipment we have, then it updates the inventories automatically. Sending reminder emails, moving information between systems from one system to another. So these are some of the monotonous processes, and they can be automated without you constantly checking, have I done this, or have I submitted these reports? Okay, so that's all about automation. again, automation is about executing the same task consistently without human intervention. Intervention, yes. Okay, so the key idea with automation is that follow the rules. We have a bunch of rules, or we have a set of rules, and we want you to follow these rules over and over again. It does not mean, it means that if I'm here or not, I just want you to follow this bunch of rules over and over and over again. So if this happens, then do this. So if if Y happens, then do X. There is no learning involved, but it's just following, but it's just strictly following a bunch of rules. Again, if X happens, then do Y. Okay? So that's all about when you're talking about automation. So what about analytics? When you're talking about analytics, what do we mean? Analytics, again, applying in the business sense. Okay. So when we move to analytics, when we are talking about analytics, these tend, or in a general sense, they tend to answer a specific question. For example, what happened? Why did this happen? Which branch performed best if you're doing some type of analytics? Then which product is performing poorly in a certain demographic or in a certain region? Or which product is generating more revenue? Which product is generating less revenue? Is this marketing campaign generating effective results? Okay, so that's all about analytics. We have a problem. We have data, and we are learning about this data to understand what the problem is, or are we solving the right problem, and so on. So example of analytics in this set is you'll prepare some things like the sales dashboards. You also prepare things to do like financial reports, customer reports. You also operational KPIs and so on. So those are some of the analytics. So that means you'll have a KPI, something that you're tracking. Then under that, you'll have to do analytics. And I think we have done mathematics. You have added values, you have subtracted, you have multiplied, divided, and so on. So that is part of analytics, because you'll be adding data values, you'll be subtracting from somewhere. Okay, so all that's, once you involve the addition, subtraction, multiplication, and all that, those tend to be more of in the analytics field. They can also apply during automation, because you will be setting the rules. But for analytics, it's all about trying to find something. What happened? Why did this happen? When did this happen? So it's all about investigation. Okay. So with analytics, something that it separates when you're talking about analytics and how it's different from automation is that with analytics, we are turning data into insights. So we have data, and we want to understand what story does this data tell us. So when you are in that process of finding more information about from this data, that's all about analytics. Also when talking about analytics, generally it will help us to understand the business itself. It does not care about, does not make decisions for you, but with the analytics, you're just taking a bunch of historical data that you have been collecting for quite some time, and then with that data, you're trying to understand our business. So is our business making profits? Are we in losses? Are we in profits? Are we making the right decisions? Now, based on the story of the data, you're going to rely that to make decisions, and that's why you move to the next step about AI. So AI, I think most of you are synonymous with AI. You have used the likes of ChatGPT and Cloud and so on when performing some activities here and there. So what about AI in this context? So when you're talking about AI, so AI is something, or is a tool that we can use as a support when it comes to making decisions. Okay, so AI goes beyond reporting, and instead of asking what happened, we can now leverage the use of AI, and we can ask it questions. For example, what is likely to happen based on, let's say, based on the data that you have collected, gathered, and done an analysis. So we can ask AI, so based on this data, what is likely to happen next? Okay, or what should we do next? So what are some of the examples when we're talking about AI? So example is that which customers are likely to stop buying from us. So we have analyzed our data, we have presented our findings, then we let AI try to help us to make these decisions. So you ask questions like which customers are likely to stop buying from us, which products will run out next week if you're doing a demand predictive analytics and so on, which invoice looks fraudulent, which employee is likely to resign, which loan application represents the highest risk if you're working in the credit department. Okay, so I think with the questions that I'm trying to ask, which customers are likely to stop buying and so on, you can see there is a slight shift in what we are looking for. Analytics looks backwards. We have collected data until today. So let's analyze the health of our business from the day we started until to today. So that's what analytics does. It looks backwards. But when we are integrating AI, now you can see a slight shift, and with AI we are now looking forward. So what will happen based on this historical data that we have analyzed? Okay, so AI can now be used to make predictions. Okay, so that's now the difference between analytics, historical data, a story about our data. AI is all about predictive analytics. You're trying to look or venture forward. What will happen based on whatever based on what we have currently? Okay? So I'll give you a simple business example that you can use to track now what is AI, what is analytics, and automation. So I can give you an example. So imagine you're working in a retail shop, a supermarket, and so on. So when you're talking about automation, is that when a cashier completes a sale, so when they click sell, the inventory updates automatically. That means we are buying 5 loaves of bread. We had 50 in our inventory. So after this customer makes the purchase, we do the subtraction immediately. So that is automation. Buying 5 loaves, 50 minus 5, that is 45. So the remaining loaves of bread are 45. Okay, so that is about automation. There's no thinking, it's just rules. Take the quantity from the customer's bought, look at our inventory, whatever number we have, then just do the subtraction. And that is automation. So the cashier does not now start doing the calculation itself. We have set the preconditions and the rules that the system has to follow and do that process. So that is automation. Now, what about analytics? So at the end of the day, we'll have the managers. So they will see that today sales, the best selling product. Let's say the best selling products are loaves of bread. Then they will also see the slow moving products, the revenue that we got for the day. They can extend this for the day, week, month, and year, and so on. So that's about analytics. Then about AI, then now the system, they can now move a step forward, and then the system can ask, or they can ask the system, or the system can recommend. For example, milk sales or milk sales are increasing faster than expected. At the current rate, this branch will run out of milk in 3 days. Place an order tomorrow of X quantity of milk, or that matter, we are talking about loaves of bread. So AI is able to detect that, unable to flag because the quantity of milk or bread is less than the demand. So we need to place an order tomorrow so that we're able to satisfy the demand. Or in other case, we can leverage the power of AI and ask a question like, those products have high risk of expiring before they are sold. So that means that we can look at way to maybe offer discount markdown on the same products so that they can leave the shelf. Okay, so all these systems, automation, analytics, and AI, they tend to work together. If you are able to compile this system into a single system, then you're able to leverage the the upside of each type of system. So how do they work together? So this is probably the most important. So with this one, you can see that in a business type, for example, you need to actually use all three. Automation will help you to keep operations running because you don't need to be constantly checking are we subtracting from our inventory. Analytics will be able to perform to explain the performance, and AI will improve the future decisions. So if you combine these three things, then you can be able to see what is the power of leveraging these systems. So combining all these three systems to talk to each other, then it makes your decisions and operations run smoothly. Okay? So in one thing that you can avoid in this matter is that if you're looking into integrating or building such a systems where you have automations, analytics, and predictive analytics, for that matter, AI is just a predictive analytics, then you should be doing this in a step-by-step process. So in most cases, picture this. By, let's say, 2015, we didn't have the AI systems that we have currently. So during those times, in most cases, the most thing that was available is the automation. I think by that time, automation was one of the Kool-Aid during that time. So automation. Then after automation, then we came to analytics. Then analytics, then we're able to add on top of that AI. So instead of jumping right into AI, you need to, in most cases, at least start with the automation, because automation will help you to collect the data that you actually need. So for example, when the inventory is, when you are adding more goods or customers are buying from our store, so you first need to do the automation first, because at the end of the day, you don't need to go back to the drawing board and do the mathematics or the subtraction and additions by yourself. You have to do the automations first, so that that data is generated automatically without you having to pay attention or look at that after each and every transaction. So you first have to do the automation first. Then once you've done the automation, then you move to the analytics process. So you automate the repetitive work. Then you build the reliable analytics system on top of that, so that you're able to understand the performance and so on. So you have automated. Automation meaning you're going to collect this data in a reliable way. Then you build an analytics engine on top of that, because I'm trusting my data, or I'm trusting the systems that have integrated to collect this data. Then I'm adding on a reliable analytics layer on top of that. Then analytics will be able to tell me the history or the performance of the store for that matter. And then I can introduce AI, where it can help me to make better predictions or a recommendation that will now create measurable business value. So you can see that at the end goal, instead of jumping right to AI, we have to do this in a sequential manner. Otherwise, we'll break this chain, or AI will give you recommendations, because if you tell AI to give you something, definitely it will give you something. But is that something correct? Then that's the question that you need to ask. Then if it's not correct, then the first thing that you have to do is to check what data are you feeding the system. So if you clean up your data, you'll have done like 80% of you'll have cleaned about 80% of your recommendation, so the output based on AI. Then maybe the other one's just about adding the human in the loop, so that we're able to get input from that. Okay. So as I close this, maybe a simple framework to remember. So just understand that when you're talking about automation, this is how we can reduce the repetitive manual work. How are we able to reduce that work? That is automation. When you're talking about analytics, we are talking about what is happening in the business and why. So you're able to explain what is happening and why. And when you're talking about AI, is that what is likely to happen, and what should we do about it? So that's the question that AI is going to answer for that. And when you combine this system, you're able to build a robust system that can streamline our process. It can explain to us the health of whatever activity we are doing, and then we're able to make sound judgment, sound recommendation based on that. Okay, so as a parting shot, every business uses all three. So the real challenge isn't deciding whether to invest in AI, but it is to know and understand which business problem you're trying to solve. That's the first goal, and choosing the right tool or the right capability for that specific problem. So yeah, so today I just wanted to let you understand when you're talking about automation, AI, and analytics, so that in whatever case you're trying to apply this, you are able to understand, or are you able to paint a problem and find the appropriate tool, or what you need to use when it comes to solving that challenge. Okay, so until next time, peace.